Let's go over number 1309, decrypt string from alphabet to integer mapping. The problem says, given a string S formed by digits 0 through 9 and a pound sign, we want to map the string to English lowercase characters as follows. Okay, so characters A to I are represented by numbers 1 to 9, and characters J to Z is represented by 10 pound and 26 pound. So A is 1, A is the first letter, and I is ninth letter, and J is the 10th, and Z is the 26th letter. And if you noticed, we have a pound sign for J and Z, right? And that's because it's a two-digit number. So if we look at, okay, so it's guaranteed that a unique mapping will always exist. So we're gonna always have a unique mapping. If you look at our example 1, we have our input 10 sharp, 10 sharp, 11 sharp, and 12. So 10 sharp is going to be J, 11 sharp is going to be K, and we have 1 and 2, right? So 1 is going to be A, and 2 is going to be B. If we had a pound sign over here, that's going to be what comes after K is going to be L, right? But since it doesn't have a pound sign, it's going to be 1 and 2. And same thing goes for number 2. Since we have a pound sign over here, we know that this is a two-digit number. So this is going to be 26, which is going to be Z. First one is going to be A, and third one is going to be C. So A, C, Z. And same goes for all the other problems. And what we're going to do is we're going to convert each letter, or actually a number, to a corresponding letter to solve this particular problem. If you guys find this helpful, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thanks. Now let's go over our result. Well, actually our first solution, and we have our pseudocode here. We have our function which takes in one parameter which is going to be a string. And first thing you want to do is we want to create a variable that we can store our result to, and it's going to be an empty string. So let result is equal to an empty string, and obviously we want to return that later, so I'm going to do return result. Okay, and next thing I want to do is I want to create a variable that's going to store the individual numbers. So 1, 2, 3. You know how this is one big string. Now I'm going to make them separated. So 10 is gonna be one unique, 10, 11, 12. 1 is gonna be 1, and I'll name it split because I'm basically kind of splitting everything, and I'll set it equal to an empty array. And now what we want to do is we want to handle string numbers by separating them accordingly. And to do that, we're going to use a loop. So let I is equal to 0, I is going to be less than string.length, increment by 1. Okay, now first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a if statement that's going to handle numbers that have two digits. So 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and so on. Okay, so it's going to be a conditional if s at I plus 2, and I'll explain this a little later, is equal to a pound sign. What I want to do is I want to split, not push. I'm going to push in a number, and that's going to be s at index I, so current string plus the next one, so s I plus 1. Okay, so what this if statement does is it handle two-digit numbers. So if string at I plus 2 is equal to a pound, that means that it's a two-digit number, right? So what we want to do is we want to push in that number after combining or like concatenating them. So that's how we're handling our two-digit numbers. And now we want to handle our one-digit numbers, right? So 1 through 9. So I'm going to have else if statement. Oh yeah, and I actually forgot something. I want to increment I by 1 again, and that's because remember, so let's say that we're here, so 1 is the current number, and s plus s, the string at I plus 2 is this pound sign, right? So what we're doing is we're combining 1 and 0 and then pushing it to our split array, and then we want to increase I by 1 because you don't want to start at this number, right? That's gonna just mess up everything, because we know that it's always gonna be a two-digit number. We want to increase I by 1 more time, and now we want to handle our single-digit numbers. So else if, and it's going to be s at current index And if this is not equal to a pound sign, what we want to do is we want to push it into our split array. So split dot push s at index I. Okay, so if we have to print our split array, you can see that they're all correct. So we have 1 through 9, 10, 11, 12, and 26. And what we want to do now is we want to handle converting numbers to corresponding alphabet. To do that, we're going to make another for loop. So for let I is equal to 0, and we want to iterate through our split array. So split dot length increment by 1. Okay. Oh, I is less than. Okay, what we want to do next is we want to obviously convert the number to a corresponding alphabet and add it to our result, right? And how do we convert a number to a alphabet? So we do that by using something called string dot from char code. So there's this thing called ASCII table or code, and 97 is equal to a lowercase a, and 122 is equal to z. And if you don't know what this is, you can look it up on Google and you can see all the codes and their corresponding characters. But just know that 97 is a. Pretty much this is all you have to know for this problem, but also that 122 is equal to z. So we're converting a number code into a UTF-16 letter. So number to a letter. Okay. And what we want to do is, since we know that 97 is a, what we want to do is 96 plus, and I'm going to convert the character into a number by using number and split at index I. So what this does is it converts whatever is in here to a number and adds it to 96, and we concatenate that character into our result variable. So if we're looking at our first one is 1, right? So our 1 is converted to a number, and 1 plus 96 is 97, right? And 97, if you remember, is lowercase a. So we're adding a to our result variable, and we do that for all the items or elements in our split array, and we finally return our result. So we get a through z, and that's our first solution. And for second one, we don't have to have two loops, right? We can actually combine these two, and we'll do just that. Let's go over our code just one more time just to get a better understanding. And I think this code is most intuitive and just illustrates the concept a little bit better. It might not be the cleanest or shortest, but what we considered is more on understanding the problem and then how to solve it. After you understand it, you can solve it however you want. Okay, so we make two variables, result and split. And result is going to store our result, obviously, and it's going to be an empty string. And split is going to be splitting all these numbers and then storing them into this array. So first thing we do is we want to handle converting, or actually handle splitting the numbers. Okay, and you know how we have two conditionals. So first one is handling the two-digit number, and this one is handling single digit, GIT. So that's well, not 0, because we have 1 through 9, and this is 11 through 26. Okay, so we loop through our given string and we check, is string at index +2 equal to a pound sign? So if this is true, it means that it's a two-digit number, right? So we're here where 1 is, and is this a pound? Yes. If it's yes, that means that this is a two-digit number, right? Which is true. So what we want to do is we're pushing in 1 and 0 here. This is 1, this is 0. We're combining them to 10, and then we're just pushing it into our split variable. And after that, we want to increment our index by 1 because we don't want to start here. We want to start on the next one. And if that's our second conditional, and we check, is the current one not equal to a pound sign, meaning is it a number? And if it's a number, we want to push in that current element. So is this a pound sign? No. So we push it in. Is this a pound sign? No. Is it? So we push it in. Is this a pound? No. So we push it in. So that's how we're handling our single digits, and this is how we're handling our 2-digit numbers. So after we have our splitted array with all the corresponding numbers, what we want to do is we want to convert the numbers into their corresponding character. So handle num to letter. So what we do is we loop through our split array and we add to our result variable, and we convert our number to a letter. So if you guys remember, 97 was equal to 8, right? And the reason why we start at 96 is because obviously alphabet doesn't have a 0th character. The first one is A. So this evaluates to 1, and 96 plus 1 is obviously equal to 97, which is A, and we add that to our variable. And we do that for all the elements in our split array, and then when we're done with that, we return our result over here and we get this. Now let's go over our second solution. Second solution is pretty much gonna be the same as before, except that we'll have one loop, and it's going to be a combination of the 2 for loops that we had. So first thing is going to be making our result variable, and return that later result. Okay, and we make our for loop to iterate through our string, let I is equal to 0, I is less than string.length, increment by 1. And I want my first check, and this is going to handle 2-digit numbers. So if string at index I plus 2 is equal to a pound sign, what we want to do is want to concatenate to our result variable, and it's going to be string.from charcode 96 plus, we want to convert the string to a number, and it's going to be index I and the next one I plus 1. So as you can see, we handled our 2-digit numbers, and what we want to do is we want to increment I by 1 here again. And now I want my second check, else if the current string is not equal to a pound sign, what I want to do is I want to add that to my result variable. So same thing, string from charcode 96 plus number converted to a number at s at index I. And as you can see, we have our solution, right? So this one combined the 2 loops that we had. So it's doing the 2 operations at once. It's splitting the numbers and then converting it, then adding it to our result. So that one's a little bit more simple to understand, a little bit shorter. Next, we'll go over last solution just for practice. Now let's go over our last solution. Same as before, make a variable result, empty string, and we return that later. Okay, and I'll make a for loop, let I is equal to 0 and I is going to be less than string.length, increment by 1. And here I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to make a variable called the current value that refers to current string, and I'm going to make an if statement. If string I plus 2 is equal to a pound sign, so it's pretty much the same, right? What I want to do is I want to set the current value equal to string.slice I and I plus 2. So what I'm doing is, if the string at current index plus 2 is equal to a pound sign, I'm slicing the string and setting it equal to the current value. So let's say that we're here again. So what this is going to do is it's going to slice these 2 numbers and then setting equal to the current value. Okay, and what I want to do next is I want to increment I by 2 this time. And now what we want to do is we want to obviously add that number and then convert it to a character, a letter, or an alphabet, and then add it to our result. So string dot from charcode is going to be 96 plus number and current value. And as you can see, we got our result, right? And you might be wondering, how do we handle cases where we had 1-digit numbers? So let's go to the code. We use our for loop. We declare the variable current value and set equal to the current string. And if the current string at index I plus 2 is equal to a pound, so meaning if it's a 2-digit number, what we did was we cut out that number, these 1 and 0, and then set it equal to the current value, right? And after that, we incremented our I by 2. And after that, we added the corresponding alphabet to our result variable. So what if this was false? Obviously, this thing wouldn't run, right? And current value would be equal to, I don't know, let's say 1, and this doesn't run because it's false, and it simply just adds it just simply runs this function or this line of code and adds it to our result variable. So this doesn't run, it adds it as a to our result variable, and then it goes on. The next one is 2. Well, is this true? No, it's not. So it's going to add b to our string, and it's gonna go on. And when we hit 1 here, over here, our 10 essentially, this if statement is going to be true because we have a pound sign 2 strings later. So that's going to slice the number 10 and store it to our current value, and we increment I by 2 so that we are at this 1 right now, whereas 11. And it's gonna keep looping through until we get to the last point, and after that we get our result.